Welcome to JewishTV.media. Today we're going to talk about missionaries targeting Jews for conversion. So, some of the questions we're going to deal with today are: who are these people, and what is their obsession with Jews, and what we need to understand when encountering these people? Well, first of all, who are these people? Well, we need to appreciate that just like the Jewish world is not monolithic, there are different Jewish groups. Not all Jews believe the same thing. In fact, 2 Jews, 3 opinions, right? So the same thing is in the Christian world. There are not just hundreds, but thousands of different denominations within Christianity, and clearly not all of them are obsessed with converting Jews. So to make things simple, let's understand that the Jewish world, the Christian world is made up of about 2 billion Christians. About 1 billion of them are Catholics. And throughout history, Catholics have really been at the forefront of attempting to convert Jews to Christianity. But today, in 2015, this is no longer the case. They're not at the forefront of any organized mission to convert Jews. So what we're left with is the large Protestant grouping of Christians. And among those, we'll split them into 2 camps, the more liberal, and then you have the more fundamentalist, the more conservative Christians, who are sometimes known as evangelical Christians. And it's those Christians that are behind virtually all the attempts to try and convert Jews to Christianity. And where does this obsession come from? Where does this obsession to convert the Jews stem from? So we need to appreciate that their obsession goes far beyond the Jewish world. Their obsession to convert people extends to the entire world. Where does that come from? That comes from their worldview, which is very much directed by the New Testament, by the scriptures, the Christian scriptures. And they look to the scriptures for their guidance for their life. And their Bible tells them that man was created in sin because of the original sin of Adam, and therefore all of humanity is destined to a place called hell, and they are destined to have an eternity separate from God. Now, these Christians, based on the Christian scriptures, have discovered that there is a way out. There's a ticket out of hell and to spend an eternity with God. What is that ticket? As far as they're concerned, the way they are saved from hell, the way they will spend eternity with God, is by putting their faith in the Messiah, the Christian Messiah, Jesus of Nazareth, and by putting their faith in the power of His sacrifice for their sins. That's how they believe they are saved, and they believe that this is the only way that they can be saved, and this is the only way that anybody can be saved. And therefore they have a commission to go out and compel all human beings to accept this faith in Jesus and thereby save themselves from hell. This is based on a verse in the Christian scriptures in the New Testament, John chapter 3 verse 16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, so whoever shall believe in Him shall not perish but have eternal life. In other words, that it was through Jesus, who's called the Son over here, and through His death and His burial and His resurrection, and through the power of His sacrifice, that's how people will be saved. In fact, in John chapter 14 verse 6, it says that Jesus said that I am the way, the truth, and the Father. It says that I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. And so therefore it's a very much a one-way street. There's only one way to salvation. And so that's why they have this obsession to convert the entire world. But But then what about the Jews? We see clearly from statistics that there is an inordinate amount of attention focused on the Jewish people, more so than everybody else. And the question is why? Well, there are a couple of reasons for this. I'm going to mention one or two, and we'll have to end at the end of these reasons. The first reason is because when they look through the scriptures, which the first 2/3 of the Christian scriptures is actually the Jewish Bible, when they look through that Bible, what they find is a story which is basically based around the history of the Jewish people and how God took a people for himself and separated them from everybody else, making them into a special nation. And so therefore, by looking at that story in the Jewish scriptures, they get a sense that God has something important with these people, and God actually calls them the apple of his eye. A second reason is because when you go beyond the Jewish scriptures and you go to the Christian scriptures, we find that the story is a continuation of a story about Jews. Jesus was a Jew, his disciples were all Jewish. And then when we go further into the Gospels, we find that Jesus instructed his disciples that they should not go to the Samaritans, but rather they should go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So from Jesus' mouth itself, there's this sense of a special attention given to the Jewish people. And then when you go to the writings of Paul, it says in Romans chapter 1, it's sometimes mentioned on the head of missionary stationary. It says that, "For I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who has faith, to the Jew first, and also to the Greek." So there's definitely a sense of looking to the Jewish people as a special group of people that need to be evangelized, need to be converted to Christianity, and that's where the obsession comes from. Perhaps in future videos we'll discuss about how they go about doing this and what the Jewish response should be. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you for watching JewishTV.media.
JewishTV.media